The Appalachian Mountains held secrets deeper than their shadowed hollows, and Joe, a veteran scarred by war, sought peace there with his dog Arrow. On a quiet fishing trip, Arrow sensed a mystery beneath the river's surface, a sunken relic that would unravel Joe's solitude. What they found was no accident. It was a chilling secret from a forgotten era, and it marked Joe as a target in a deadly game. Please subscribe to uncover their story. Morning light spilled over the West Virginia peaks, painting the forest in hues of gold and shadow. Joe's cabin, a sturdy haven of wood and stone, stood alone in a clearing, his refuge from the ghosts of Afghanistan. At 42, Joe bore a lean frame, his brown hair streaked with silver, his hazel eyes kind, yet haunted behind a rugged beard. Arrow, his German shepherd, lay at his feet, slate gray fur gleaming, amber eyes watching with quiet wisdom. They were bound by silence, a bond forged in mutual healing after Joe's discharge in 2019. Arrow was more than a companion. He was Joe's anchor, a pup rescued from a shelter, now a guardian of his fragile peace. On the porch, Joe sipped coffee, the steam curling in the cool air. Arrow's tail thumped softly, sensing the day's promise. "Time to fish, buddy," Joe murmured, his voice a low rumble. Fishing was their ritual, a pilgrimage to still the echoes of war in Joe's mind. The forest called, and they answered together. Joe packed with precision, his military habits guiding each move. Fishing rods, tackle, a water filter, and a worn map found their place in his pack. His bolt-action rifle, a trusted extension of himself, rested nearby, oiled with care. Arrow watched, nudging Joe's hand, eager to begin. Locking the cabin's heavy door, Joe scanned the endless pines, a sea of green swallowing his haven. A low whistle, and Arrow bounded forward, ready. The forest embraced them, its canopy of oak and maple dimming the sun's glow. Leaves crunched under Joe's boots, the air crisp with pine and earth. Arrow moved like a phantom, his nose testing the breeze, ears swiveling at distant bird calls. They trekked for hours, the stream their destination, its promise of trout a balm for Joe's restless mind. Yet the wilderness held secrets, waiting to surface. By the stream, the water babbled over smooth stones, sunlight dancing on its surface. Joe cast his line, the rhythm soothing, but a rustle in the brush sparked a memory. Gunfire, dust, screams. His breath hitched, hands trembling. Arrow pressed close, a warm weight grounding him. "I'm okay, boy," Joe whispered, stroking Arrow's fur. The dog's amber eyes held steady, pulling Joe back to the present. Midday brought calm, fish darting in the clear depths, but Arrow froze, ears alert, a low growl rumbling. Joe paused, scanning the trees. No predators, only silence. "What is it, buddy?" he murmured, voice soft. Arrow's gaze locked on a murky eddy, where roots twisted into the water. A sharp bark broke the quiet, urgent, unlike Arrow's usual discipline. Something was wrong, or profoundly strange. Joe trusted Arrow's instincts, honed sharper than his own. The dog paced the bank, whining, paws splashing shallow water. The eddy hid something unnatural, its shape too angular for nature's design. Joe's pulse quickened, his training screamed caution, but curiosity burned. Arrow barked again, eyes pleading. Joe waded in, the cold biting his legs, hands searching the silt. His fingers brushed steel, not stone. Joe surfaced, gasping, water streaming down his face. He clawed at the tangled roots, revealing a rusted military jeep, its olive-drab frame half buried in the riverbed, a relic swallowed by time. Shock gripped him. He recognized the model from Cold War training manuals. This was no accident, but a secret hidden deep in the wilderness. He climbed onto the jeep, hands unsteady, finding a cracked dashboard and a soaked satchel. Inside were faded documents, their text encrypted, marked with an unfamiliar insignia. A metal case held precision tools, too advanced for civilian use. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of decay and mystery. Joe's mind flickered, a memory of barked orders, desert heat, the weight of a rifle. His chest tightened, breath shallow. Arrow's wet nose pressed against his hand, a deep whine anchoring him. "Thanks, boy," Joe whispered, voice thick with emotion. Arrow's eyes scanned the bank, alert, sensing what Joe could not yet see. The forest felt different now, its silence menacing. Fresh footprints in the mud caught Joe's eye, too recent for this forgotten place. Someone had been here, watching. His military instincts flared. The Jeep's secrets had marked him. He stuffed the satchel into his pack, heart pounding, as Arrow growled softly, ears pinned back. Danger was close. They moved quickly, Joe stepped silent, Arrow gliding beside him. A rustle in the pines, too deliberate for wind. Joe crouched, scanning the ridge. A shadow flickered, vanishing before he could focus. The wilderness, once his sanctuary, now pulsed with unseen threats. Arrow's nose twitched, guiding them through dense thickets. At a rocky outcrop, Joe paused, examining the documents. A coded phrase hinted at espionage, a name tied to a long-dead operation. His past and present collided. The Jeep was a ghost of secrets buried but not forgotten. Joe faced a choice: hide the evidence or seek the truth. Arrow's whine urged action. He chose to fight, for answers, for peace. The forest darkened as dusk fell, the streams gurgle, masking their steps. A glint on the hill, a scope's reflection. Someone was closing in. Joe gripped the satchel, Arrow tense at his side, ready to run or stand. The mystery had just begun. Joe and Arrow stood by the river, the Jeep's shadow a reminder of secrets unearthed. Their bond, forged in silence, was their strength against the unknown. The encrypted papers whispered of betrayal, a Cold War plot alive in these quiet mountains. Joe's haunted eyes met Arrow's steady gaze. The wilderness had turned on them, its peace shattered by hidden predators. The river's secrets were only the beginning, pulling them into a chilling web. What did you think of Joe and Arrow's discovery? Drop your thoughts below, like this video, and subscribe to follow their fight for truth. The river's chill lingered on Joe's skin as he clutched the satchel, its contents heavy with unanswered questions. Arrow's ears flicked, sensing movement beyond the trees. Joe's training kicked in. Every rustle was a signal, every shadow a threat. They needed to move, now. Slipping through the underbrush, Joe kept low, Arrow a silent shadow at his heels. The forest's familiar paths felt alien, each bend hiding potential danger. A snapped twig echoed, too close, and Joe's pulse surged. He scanned the horizon, hazel eyes sharp, searching for the hunter. Arrow's growl deepened, his body tense, pointing toward a narrow ravine. Joe followed, trusting the dog's instincts over his own. The terrain grew steep, rocks slick with moss, the air thick with damp earth. The satchel's weight pulled at him, a burden of secrets he could not yet unravel. At the ravine's edge, Joe crouched, peering into the gloom. A faint glint caught his eye, a metal fragment, half buried, bearing the same insignia as the Jeep's documents. His breath caught. This was no isolated find. The mystery stretched deeper, tying the mountains to a forgotten war. Memories surged, explosions, comrades lost, orders shouted in chaos. Joe's hands trembled, the satchel slipping. Arrow pressed close, his warm for a lifeline. "Steady, boy," Joe whispered, grounding himself. The dog's amber eyes held firm, a silent vow to protect. They pressed on, the ravine's shadows swallowing them. Joe's mind raced, piecing together fragments. Encrypted codes, a covert operation, a cover-up. The Jeep was a tomb, its secrets guarded by time, until now. But who else knew? The footprints suggested someone desperate to keep it buried. A sudden crack split the air, not gunfire, but close. Joe dropped flat, Arrow beside him, both still as stone. Through the trees, a figure moved, cloaked, deliberate, carrying a rifle. Joe's heart pounded. He was no longer the hunter, but the hunted. The satchel felt like a beacon, drawing danger. They backtracked, using the stream to mask their trail. Joe's military skills guided their evasion, Arrow's senses their compass. The forest, once a refuge, was a maze of threats. Every step was a gamble, every sound a warning. The mystery had trapped them in its grip. Night fell, the stars hidden by the canopy. Joe built a small fire, its glow a fragile shield. Arrow sat vigilant, ears swiveling, guarding their fragile camp. Joe opened the satchel, studying the documents by firelight. A name emerged, a general, long dead, tied to espionage. The fire's crackle mimicked gunfire, pulling Joe back to deserts and danger. His breath hitched, but Arrow's nudge brought him back. "You're my rock, boy," he murmured, voice thick. The dog's presence was a promise. They would face this together, no matter the cost. A distant howl broke the silence. Not animal, but human, a signal. Joe doused the fire, plunging them into darkness. Arrow's low growl confirmed it. They were not alone. The satchel's secrets had awakened a past that refused to stay buried, and Joe was its target. Joe whispered a command, and Arrow led them deeper into the night, their steps muffled by fallen leaves. The forest was a labyrinth now, every tree a potential ambush point. Joe's mind sharpened, drawing on years of survival training to navigate the darkness. A beam of light swept the underbrush, distant but closing. Joe pulled Arrow behind a fallen log, hearts pounding in unison. The pursuer's footsteps crunched, deliberate, a hunter on the prowl. Joe gripped his rifle, finger hovering near the trigger, ready for confrontation. The light passed, fading into the woods. Joe exhaled, but tension lingered. The satchel burned against his back, its secrets a curse he could not escape. Arrow's ears perked, sensing no immediate threat, but the night held more shadows than answers. They reached a small clearing, moonlight filtering through the canopy. Joe knelt, opening the satchel again, piecing together clues. A map emerged, marked with coordinates in these very mountains, hinting at a hidden base from decades ago. His past wars echoed in this new one. Arrow whined softly, nudging Joe's arm, urging vigilance. Joe nodded, stroking the dog's fur. Their bond was unbreakable, a light in the encroaching darkness. The Jeep's discovery had shattered their peace, but it also ignited a purpose long dormant. A rustle nearby, Joe spun, rifle raised. A deer bounded away, harmless, but his nerves frayed. He lowered the weapon, breath steadying. The pursuer was out there, drawn by the relic's unearthing. Joe vowed to uncover the full truth for himself and Arrow. They moved on, the ravine giving way to denser woods. Joe's thoughts raced. Who guarded these secrets? Government remnants? Descendants of spies? The encrypted documents held names, dates, a web of betrayal spanning years. The Cold War had roots here, alive and dangerous. Arrow's sudden stop halted Joe. The dog sniffed the air, growling low. Footprints crossed their path, fresh, leading uphill. Joe's hazel eyes narrowed. They were being herded. He adjusted his pack, determination stealing his resolve. Retreat was no option. Climbing the slope, muscles aching, Joe pushed forward. Arrow scouted ahead, a gray blur in the moonlight. At the crest, a ruined structure loomed, an old bunker, vines claiming its concrete walls. The map's coordinates matched. This was the heart of the mystery. Joe approached cautiously, Arrow at his side. The door hung ajar, darkness within. He shone a flashlight, revealing dusty crates, faded labels marking classified gear. His discovery deepened. The Jeep was just a piece of a larger puzzle, buried in these hills. A noise inside. Joe froze, light sweeping the interior. Shadows danced, but no one emerged. Arrow barked sharply, warning of intrusion. Joe stepped back, senses alert. This place held answers, but also peril. The night grew colder, secrets pressing in. They circled the bunker, Joe noting fresh disturbances. Dirt shifted, leaves crushed. Someone had visited recently, perhaps the same pursuer. He pocketed a loose paper, another clue to the espionage plot. Arrow's vigilance was their shield against the unknown. Descending the slope, Joe planned their next move. Return to the cabin, decode the documents fully. But the forest whispered warnings, branches snapping in the wind. Arrow's growl confirmed it. They were followed. The chase had intensified, pulling them under. At the stream's edge, Joe paused to drink, Arrow lapping beside him. The water's flow mirrored his turbulent thoughts. The relic had tied his fate to a forgotten conflict. An escape seemed impossible. Yet with Arrow, he found strength to endure. A splash upstream. Joe turned, spotting a figure across the water, silhouetted against the moon. The pursuer had found them. Joe grabbed Arrow's collar, bolting into the trees. The mystery's grip tightened, their survival a desperate race through the night. Joe bolted through the underbrush, Arrow's collar firm in his grip, the dog's paws pounding the earth in rhythm. Branches whipped at his face, but he pushed on, the silhouetted figure's pursuit echoing in snapped twigs behind them. The night air was thick, charged with fear and determination. They veered toward denser woods, where moonlight barely pierced the canopy. Joe's breath came in sharp bursts, his military training guiding their evasion. Arrow's senses led the way, avoiding open paths, his low whines warning of dangers unseen. The satchel bounced against Joe's back, a prize worth the risk. A shot rang out, bark splintering nearby. Joe dropped low, pulling Arrow with him behind a boulder. His heart thundered. The pursuer was skilled, closing fast. He checked his rifle, chambering around quietly. Arrow's body tensed, amber eyes fixed on the darkness, ready to defend. The figure approached, footsteps cautious. Joe aimed through the sights, finger steady on the trigger. "Show yourself," he whispered to the night, voice low. A rustle, then silence. Arrow growled, hackles raised. The standoff stretched, tension coiling like a spring. Suddenly, the pursuer emerged, a man in dark gear, rifle lowered. "You found something that belongs buried," he said, voice gravelly. Joe held his ground, hazel eyes locked. "Who are you? What is this about?" The man's face was shadowed, but his stance screamed authority. Arrow barked sharply, distracting the man. Joe seized the moment, lunging forward, tackling him to the ground. They grappled, fists flying, the satchel spilling nearby. Arrow circled, snarling, nipping at the intruder's heels. Joe pinned him, demanding answers. "The Jeep holds proof of a botched operation," the man gasped. "Espionage gone wrong, lives lost. They want it silent." Joe's mind reeled, government shadows, covering tracks. He tied the man's hands with cord from his pack, Arrow standing guard. With the pursuer secured, Joe gathered the scattered documents. Arrow's tail wagged faintly, sensing victory. But Joe knew this was not the end. More would come. The mystery's roots ran deep, tying his solitude to a larger conspiracy. They dragged the man back toward the cabin, the forest slowly lightening with dawn. Joe's thoughts swirled. Report this, or dig deeper. Arrow's presence bolstered him, their bond unbreakable amid the chaos. The relic had pulled them under, but they would surface stronger. At the cabin, Joe locked the pursuer in a shed, calling authorities anonymously. Arrow sat by the door, vigilant. The documents revealed names, dates, a web of deceit from decades past. Joe felt a spark of purpose, his ghosts quieting in the face of truth. As sun crested the peaks, Joe stroked Arrow's fur. "We did it, boy," he murmured. Their adventure had forged them anew, solitude shattered but resilience born. The chilling mystery lingered, but together, they faced whatever came next. What secrets have you uncovered in the wild? Share in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more tales of mystery and survival. Your support keeps these stories alive.